What's going on, guys? It's your man Saxton 714 here, bringing you a sermon on Sunday. Everybody knows every Sunday we do a sermon. So, as always, as you know, guys, I started a Facebook thing. We'll see if I can upload this on Facebook too. But as you guys know, I do not take any money on Sundays, nor do I really live stream because I don't believe it's right. So, with that being said, thank you guys so much who's been supporting the series. Please give this video a like. Ring that bell for notifications on YouTube. Share the video as much as you can. And please donate to the charity. Because every Sunday we always give to a charity. I'm looking at my clock, see what time it is. And as you can see for the sermon this week, I probably should have put the charity up first. But what the sermon is what we should pray for and how we should pray. You see the money on top there to the left. And then the big castle or the Taj Mahal, I think that is. Maybe wrong. The big building behind. A lot of people pray for financial gain and for power. So I put them things on there, and you will find out through this sermon that that's not what we should pray for. Actually, God tells us how we should pray and what we should pray for. But before we do that, like I said, we always donate to a charity. So let's get into it. This week's charity is Brothers Brother Foundation. And I'm gonna start reading descriptions of these charities right off the website because I don't do them any service by not doing that. So Brothers Foundation is a gift-in-kind charity that focuses on medical and educational needs around the world. BBF has served 149 countries worldwide with over 105,000 tons of medicines, medical equipment, textbooks, educational supplies, and emergency disaster aid since its founding in 1958. If you want to donate to their site, a link will be in the description below. Please donate to them if you can. And also, their website is http://www.brothersbrother.org. So brothersbrother.org. Please donate to them. 99.40 of the percentage of you guys donating goes to towards the charity. All right, but let's get right into this. Let's jump into this. As always, we're going to start in the Old Testament. Now, I know this is how we should pray and the way we should pray. That was the name of the sermon. But I also learned some stuff too when I am here studying for these lessons. When I'm trying to find, what works, what ones are more towards the subject. Like when I look for verses in the Bible, I'm searching, which ones would make the most impact to somebody. I actually found 2 times in the Bible when God has told somebody to stop praying, which I never thought I'd find, but it did happen. One of them was to Moses, and one of them was to the prophet Jeremiah. So I will throw that out there, and I will put it on this slide, because that's what we're going to go to first, because I was amazed. And what has happened here is you'll get to read, Moses has led them out of Egypt, and they were thirsty. So in Numbers 25 through 12, this is where we're going to start out in verse 5. And as everybody notices, if anybody's new on Facebook or just following the channel, in the left corner, that is the actual place where you can follow me in the Bible if you want to read along with the Bible to see if I'm, taking anything out of context. I do not do that. I try not to do that. And anybody sees that can correct me. I have been corrected twice, and I have since addressed those in the previous video before when I talked about the old coal miner. I went out and spoke about that, and I'm happy when people do that. But as you see in the bottom of Numbers, it's usually the chapter, the chapter place, and then 5 through 12 is the verses in the chapter. So Numbers 20, 5 through 12 in the Old Testament. We're going to start in verse 5. And wherefore have ye made us to come out of Egypt? These are the people complaining to Moses. To bring us into this evil place. It is no place of seed, or of figs, or of vines, or of pomegranates. Neither is there any water to drink. And Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they fell upon their faces, and the glory of the Lord appeared to them. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Take thy rod, gather thou assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother, and speak ye under the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water. And thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock. So thou shalt give the congregation and their beasts drink. And Moses took the rod from before the Lord, as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock. And he said unto them, Hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? Now, there's a problem there, and we're gonna get to that. And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice, and the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, because ye believed me not to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore ye shall not bring this congregation into the land which I had given them. Basically, God has promised them land. The promised land out of Egypt. And as you were reading this, to say, as the same time I was, hear now ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rocks? Basically him saying, hey, must me and Aaron get you water out of here? He never said the Lord is giving you water, as he does most times. He said me and Aaron. So the Lord was upset about this, and the Lord told him that they will not go into the land which he gave them, promised land flowing with milk and honey. So this bothers Moses. So what's Moses do? He prays for forgiveness. He actually prays over and over again to get in. And God actually tells him to stop. Enough. It's just like when your kids do something wrong at home, especially mine. And the way I was when I was younger, kept asking, nagging. Eventually you just tell them, hey, no. The answer is no. You're not going to get a different answer. It's no. Just forget about it, quit asking. So this happens here. And dude, I didn't bold this, I don't know why. But you hear the answer to the Lord. And this is Moses praying to the Lord, and this is the Lord tells him. In Deuteronomy 3:23 through 28, starting in verse 23. And I besought the Lord at the time, saying, O Lord God, thou hast begun to shew thy servant thy greatness and thy mighty hand. For what God is there in heaven or in earth that can do according to thy works and according to thy might? I pray thee, let me go over and see the good land that is beyond Jordan, that goodly mountain and Lebanon. But the Lord was wroth with me for your sakes. He's talking to the people, and would not hear me. And the Lord said unto me, let it suffice thee, speak no more unto me of this matter. Basically, don't ask me again. Get thee up to the top of Pisgah, and let up thine eyes westward and northward and southward and eastward, and behold it with thine eyes, for thou shalt not go over this Jordan. The explanation points basically Pisgah means the hill, is what it's saying. But charge Joshua and encourage him and strengthen him, for he shall go over before this people, and he shall cause them to inherit the land which thou shalt see. You heard it right there. Moses prayed. He says he prayed to go over, and God told him, no, it's not going to happen. Quit praying to me. Quit asking. Don't speak no more of it. Because remember, Abraham argued for Sodom and got to argue with God and actually lowered the number. But Moses, in this one instance, God said, speak of me speak no more unto me this matter. Basically saying, stop praying about it. You're not going to get, the answer is going to be the same. So I thought that was very interesting. And then we're going to find it again. And this is in Jeremiah. And what he's doing is praying for the people of Israel, because they have went and started following adultery. You'll get to read it all here. They've been murder, they've been stealing, following false gods. And actually, he tells Jeremiah to quit praying for these people, because it's not going to save them. There's nothing that they can do to help themselves, which is very rare in the Bible that you ever read this. But let's read it in Jeremiah chapter 7, verses 8 through 16. I didn't bold this one either. I don't know what's going on. But in verse 8, behold, ye trust in lying words that cannot profit. Basically telling them, you're listening to other gods. There is no other God. Will ye steal, murder, and commit adultery, and swear falsely, and burn incense unto Baal, which was their god, and walk after other gods whom ye know not, and come and stand before me in this house, which is the Lord's house, which is called by my name, and say, we are delivered to do all these abominations. And like I said, anything after the pound sign, whereupon my name is called, which, and they try to explain stuff. I normally delete them little stuff out, because it really means nothing. It's just like an abbreviation, like I stated before. And number 11, is this house which is called by my name become a den of robbers in your eyes? Behold, even I have seen it, saith the Lord. But go ye now unto my place, which is in Shiloh, where I set my name at the first, and see what I did to it for the wickedness of my people Israel. And now, because ye have done all these things, saith the Lord, and I spake unto you, rising up early and speaking, but ye heard not. And I called you, but ye not answered. Basically, he asked them to just quit, and they would not quit. They would not listen to him. Therefore I will do unto this house, which is called by my name, wherein ye trust, and unto the place which I gave to you and to your fathers, as I have done in Shiloh. And I will cast you out of my sight, as I cast out all your brethren, even the whole seed of Ephraim. Therefore pray not thou for these people, neither lift up cry nor prayer for them, neither make intercession to me, for I will not hear thee. Basically saying, stop. Stop. They're too far. It's too far gone. There's nothing you can do to save them. Their fate has been sealed. Their fate has been sealed. Sorry about that. Their fate has been sealed. That's what he's telling Jeremiah there. And I just thought that was interesting, that's 2 times that God says, do not pray. Therefore, pray not. Which I was awfully amazed. And here we go in 2 Chronicles 7:12 through 14 in verse 12. And the Lord appeared to Solomon by night. This is Solomon praying to the Lord here, and said unto him, I have heard thy prayer, and have chosen this place to myself for a house of sacrifice. If I shut up heaven that there be no rain, or if I command the locust to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among the people, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wickedness ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land. Basically, God's telling us how to pray right here. He tells us, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face. Basically, when you pray, you're looking for God. You're looking for guidance. And for us Christians, when we sin, this is what we do, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. He's telling us how to pray here. He's telling us this is what you do, and this is why you pray. And this is how you pray. You call for me, and I will look for you, and I will help you any which way I can, as long as it's true. And like I said, some of these I bolded, some of these I didn't. And this is in 2 Chronicles 1:6 through 12. And this basically tells what's happening here is Solomon's praying to the Lord. He just became king, and he wants God to show him how to be a great king, like his father, King David, which is one of the greatest in the Bible. Even though there's some things that he did wrong, still one of the best ones in the Bible, and one especially in God's eyes. Well, Solomon's asking for help. He doesn't know what to do. He's lost. So he goes up and prays, and I think this is a good example because God tells him, you didn't ask me for this, this, and this, but yet you asked for this, and I'm more thankful that you asked for this than these other things. So let's go ahead and read in 2 Chronicles 1:6 through 12. And Solomon went up thither to the brazen altar before the Lord, which was at the tabernacle of the congregation, and he offered 1,000 burnt offerings upon it. Wow, it's a lot. And in that night did God appear unto Solomon, and said unto him, Ask what I shall give thee. Basically, God said, just ask, what do you want? I'll give it to you, whatever. And Solomon said unto God, Thou hast shewed great mercy unto David my father, and hast made me to reign in his stead. Now, O Lord God, let thy promise unto David my father be established, for thou hast made me king over a people like the dust of the earth and the multitude. Give me now wisdom and knowledge, that I may go out and come in before these people, who can judge this thy people that is so great. So all he wants is wisdom and knowledge. That's all he asked for was his help. Give him wisdom, make me a great king. And God said to Solomon, Because this was in thine heart, and thou hast not asked riches, wealth, or honor, nor thy life of thine enemies, neither yet hast asked a long life, but hast asked wisdom and knowledge for thyself, that thou mayest judge my people over whom I have made thee king. Wisdom and knowledge is granted unto thee, and I will give thee riches and wealth and honor, such as none of the other kings have had that have been before thee. Neither shall there any after thee have the like. Yeah. But as you see there, Basically, the Lord is saying, hey, you ask for wisdom. He could ask for anything. Like I said, he could ask for riches. He could ask for wealth. He could ask to destroy the enemies, but he didn't. He went and just asked for knowledge to be a good king. And I think that's what we all need to do. We all don't need to ask about for riches or wealth or honor. We must do these things on our own. We must work and try to do these things on our own. All that we should need from God is the guidance and the wisdom to do these things, to go out and profess His name, and to go out and let Him judge us and lead our life. And when people pray, I think that goes out that, sure, there's some that pray for riches and wealth that are down at the bottom of the barrel, that they have no other way out. And that's up to them to do it. But this is what I think God means for when we go to pray. I think this is what He looks for. And we'll go into the next one. This is in Job. And this is my favorite book in the Old Testament. And with Job, this is what you do not do. That's the best way I could put it. This is why it's one of my favorite books in the Old Testament. You never ask God why. Job is sick. Job is struck with health. And I didn't space some of these out so they would fit on one page. So if you don't see that, that's why. But anyways, basically, Job is asking God, why? I demand an answer. I've been loyal to you. I have given everything to you. And yet I'm laying here sick. I might die. I have lost my sons. I have lost my daughters. Everybody here thinks I'm the worst person in the world, that I've done something wrong, killed somebody, or turned my back to you. That's why this is happening to me. I demand to know why you're doing this to me. So he does this for a while, and in the beginning, this is when the Lord answers Job. Actually, if you read from Job 38 down and see what God says to him, I could have went on and put the whole end of the book of Job on here, but I didn't. But let's get on with it. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Basically, like, who are you to ask me why? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations therefore fastened, and who laid the cornerstone thereof? Well, like I said, the pound sign, sockets, that's just, foundations is Hebrew for sockets. I think that's how that works. In verse 7, when the morning stars sang together, and all of the sons and God shouted for joy. Or who shut up the sea with doors, when it brake forth as if it had issued out of the womb? When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and the thick darkness a swaddling bag for it, and break up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors my decree upon it, and said, hitherto shalt thou come and no further, and here shall thy proud waves be stayed. Hast thou commanded the morning since the days, and caused the day spring to know his place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of it? And I stopped there just because to give you a sense of basically what he's asking him is, you didn't do any of this. You didn't make the earth. You didn't bring the earth light. You didn't bring the waters. You didn't bring the land. Were you there when I did this? So do you have any right to ask me why I've done this? Do you have the knowledge? Is there something you know that I don't? And the Lord is basically putting Job in his place. And at the end, Job tells him he's sorry. He should have never asked why. He should have had just faith. But that's out of prayer. How many times do we do that? How many times do people do that? Ask God why. Why did this happen? Why is this happening to me? We don't know the answer to why. We really, if you read from Job, we have no right to ask why. It's happening because God wanted it to happen. And that's the way it is. You just got to have faith that it's all going to work out in the end. I know every family gets tested and every family goes through certain things. My family has. We've gone through tough times, and every time I always tell my wife, just have faith. Just have faith. But when people pray, this is what you don't want to pray. This is how you don't want to. The same way Job did all the way throughout, asking why. I demand an answer, God, on why you did this to me. God gets upset, as you've seen here in Job. Don't have a right to ask why. But right now, we're going to go into the New Testament. I got about 9 minutes left because I like to talk. So let's get into the New Testament. This is in Matthew 6, 5 through 13. And Jesus is telling us how to pray here. Jesus is telling us how we should pray, what we should ask for. And we're going through the New Testament. I tried to grab as much as I can from what Jesus said, because that's who we need to follow in this. But as you will see throughout here, we'll just go to what other examples that people say we should pray for. But let's get into this. Matthew 6, 5 through 13. And when thou prayest, this is Jesus speaking to the disciples, thou shalt not be as hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may have been seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. How many preachers you see on TV do this? How many preachers do you see on TV or just want to boast that they preach? I don't do this to boast. You guys can watch or you can't watch. I do this because I love to do this. I do this so if anybody needs a sermon and they can't get there, as I said before, they can go here. What anybody thinks of me, I'm no better than the homeless person sitting down in Wheeling Island. So, but how many preachers and stuff do you see that go and just preach on TV and say they profess these miracles and do these things, and they do this just to look good in their eyes? But let's keep going. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Now, the only other time I do pray is in church. I went to church this morning, had a good sermon. I actually go to the Church in Christ in Shadyside because it's closer to home. I did go to McMecken, which my good friend Herman Mass teaches there and is very good at teaching there. He is a very good preacher, and that whole church has a great congregation of preachers. It's just that Shadyside's closer to me. But they have a website on Facebook. You can find them, Shadyside Church of Christ. And they put up a podcast of the sermons we have every morning. You can listen to them, but that's the only time that I actually pray out in public, unless somebody asks for it or somebody needs it, then I'll do it. But other than that, this verse is the reason why. And number 7, but when ye pray, use not vain repetitions as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Basically saying, don't make your prayer a half hour to an hour long because you think you're better than somebody else who's praying for 5 minutes. And we'll find that out to be true later on in this study. Number 8, be not ye therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things you need before you ask him. Basically, that's basically easy to explain. You don't need to ask God for much. God knows what you need. Let him guide you. After this manner therefore ye pray, and pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Basically, Jesus is telling us how we should pray in this verse. And we're going to keep going because we got 5 minutes left. This is in Matthew 5 through 44. And this is what Jesus says about people that you dislike. I use this one verse, and that's why Luke 18, 10 through 14 is on top this one time, so you can see that I separated the verses. I didn't want you to think the verse below was in Matthew 2, so I just wanted to separate it. But Matthew 5:44, but I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Don't curse anybody when you pray. God doesn't want to hear it. He wants you to be loving. Jesus wants you to be loving. Jesus wants you to be open. And Jesus wants you, it sounds like here, Jesus wants you to ask for them to be blessed, which how many people do that? Get on their knees and pray, and somebody's upset them that day, or some of the world leaders might do this. You know, if they pray to whoever they pray to, say, hey, curse them, and we need this to go our way, and we need this to go our way. Lord, please punish this person for what they did to me today. A lot of people I can see go through that. And Jesus says here that's wrong. You shouldn't pray like that. And now we'll get into Luke 18, 10 through 14. And this will show you the meaning of prayer and the differences between two people and two different ways that they pray, and which one God favors over the other. Two men went up into the temple to pray. Like I said, Luke 18:10 through 14. Two men went up in the temple to pray, the one a Pharisee, the other a publican. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, God, I thank thee that I am not as the rest of the men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican. I fast twice a week, I give tithes of all that I get. But the publican, standing far off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto heaven, but smote his breast, saying, God, be thou merciful to me a sinner. I say unto you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone that exalteth himself shall be humbled, but he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Basically saying, listen, God, if you're going to sit there and put somebody down just as he did, be like, thank goodness I'm not like that guy. You know, how many guys do you see that would be like me when I go to pray, saying, man, I'm happy I'm not like that atheist over there, or I'm not like that Catholic, or I'm not like that Jew over there. Thank goodness I'm not like him. I'm a Christian. I'm not like that atheist. I have a reason, God. I'm praying here for you. Thank goodness that you got me here. You don't need them. You don't need them anyway. I would never do that. And no real Christian will. If anybody does that and you say you're a Christian, you're a hypocrite. That's what you are. You're a hypocrite and you're not a Christian. I would never do that. But that is a good example of what it would be like if I would go out and pray that, you know, hey, thank you for showing me the way, but you know what, they don't learn. I'm better above them because of that. That's not the way that we should pray, and Jesus here points that out. So we're going to go to our last slide here in Luke 18:1 through 8. So I'm running out of time. And he spake a parable unto them to the end that they ought always to pray and not to faint. Basically, pray as much as you can. Saying, there was in a city a judge who feared not God and regarded not man. And there was a widow in that city, and she came oft unto him, saying, avenge me of mine adversary. And he would not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, though I fear not God, nor regard man, yet because this widow troubleth him, I will avenge her, lest she wear me out by her continual coming. And the Lord said, hear what the unrighteous judge saith, and shall not God avenge his elect, that cry to him day and night, and yet he is long-suffering over them? I say unto you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth. Basically saying, listen, you don't have to pray for God to judge anybody. God's going to judge people the way he judges, and this could be used in a judge sermon. But he says to pray and not to faint. Basically said, just pray. There's no reason to go out and do that. God is going to judge the people as he judges the people, no matter how you pray. So there's also a bunch of other single line prayer ways to pray, and single line pray. There's all kinds of the disciples telling, Romans, in the book of Romans, there's a bunch of things that talk about prayer, but I wanted to give this stuff out that come right out of Jesus' mouth. And I couldn't make it too long, because when you talk about a prayer and you go through a prayer sermon, these things could go a while. We're at the 30-minute mark, and I didn't think it was going to be that long, but it is. So I thank everybody for watching the video. I thank everybody for their support. Please donate in the charity below. And like I said, Wednesday, we go to the finale of Blades of Steel, and we'll see if I won, if I lost. I'm telling you, you guys are loving it. I'm so thankful for everybody who's enjoying and subscribe to the channel and has become a member. I'm going to start a member page up, and anybody who's followed my social media thing on Facebook that I just created, thank you guys so much. But like I said, leave a comment below. If you have any problem with the sermon, call me out on it. We'll talk about it. And maybe you're right, maybe I'm wrong. But I'm reading it straight from the book of the Bible. So everybody, please Have a good night. Have a good week. I will see you guys Wednesday for that video, and that's the end of that video. And then we're going to start into another series for this sports extravaganza. Peace.
Jesus won't back down. Jesus won't back down. Take the gates of evil and smash them to the ground. He saves souls from every country and every town.